had to unmute myself there for a second. We're messing around with StreamYard on different computers. Listen, it's spring break. We're not even going to do our full intro because it's spring break and nothing's working. Nothing.
Isn't that how it always works?
Yes. 100%.
Go on break and everything just kind of ruins it.
Yeah. The radio computer is not working. The normal microphone that we use is not working. My brain is not working. So we're just here. And for whatever episode this is, we're here and we're going to have a lot of fun.
76. If I remember right, 76. Can you believe that? And a brainchild, of us, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
We've made it. And we've completely jumped the shark. We've completely lost control. And yeah.
Not us.
No, not us at all. So yeah, I'm over here looking at a computer that has been resetting itself for the last 3 hours. And is it sitting at 70%, and hopefully it'll work. But at least we're still on. We've got some big help here, just trying to figure out how to make technology work.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know. I know my folks are listening on the radio, 88.9 LCZ. Mm-hmm. But let us know about the StreamYard. If you're watching us live on StreamYard on Facebook, let us know if because we're using a little bit of different technology. We had to pull out my microphone. Your big blue snowball's not working.
The sad thing is, we were supposed to be coming in and getting some tech help as far as getting these microphones to work with our computers. And then the computer here was the one that just decided, we're not working anymore.
Not today.
And I didn't even know. Make sure that turns off. There we go. We didn't even get to that part.
Yeah.
So maybe next week we will get it all figured out. It's been a day. It's been an absolute day.
A week. It's been that kind of a week.
I was all excited about spring break and having a break. That's hopefully for me tomorrow. Going to be the one day. I've even told Haley multiple times, I am doing absolutely nothing on Wednesday. Nothing. I'm sitting in my chair from the time I wake up until I have to go get Addie from daycare. And then I'm coming back and I'm sitting back in my chair. That's the plan. Will the plan work? Of course not, but that's the plan. Yep. The plan for today's show is it's kind of a more relaxed show, obviously, with spring break going on. There's still a ton of sports to talk about. Both the men and women's NCAA tournaments have reached the Final Four.
You killed it, man.
My women's bracket. So near perfect. Notre Dame almost got me. Almost an entire. Well, I would have had 7 of the 8 Elite 8, but my right side would have remained perfect if they would have pulled off the upset with NC State. The game yesterday with NC State and UConn, fantastic. Might have been the best tournament game, men or women's, this year.
I don't know about that because I went down to bowl down at Mountain Home, mm-hmm. and after we got done bowling, we got back in enough time, and we watched the women's. Notre Dame game? Is that
Notre Dame, NC State?
No, I don't remember that was one of them. I think it was it was a late game. By the time we got back, it was just crazy. But yeah, some of the best games happening in the last few weeks, which makes me question. You and I've talked about it so many times about MLB expanding their playoffs. Why don't we just shrink it back down? Get out of 64, go back to 32.
Well, at least with college basketball, there's like 300 teams. And we wouldn't have had the St. Peter's if we would have shrank it down.
Right.
So if you're shrinking it down, are you cutting out automatic bids for the smaller conference winners? Or are you cutting out at larges? Or I get it. At least with the NCAA tournament, and it goes really quick. So I think that obviously, the NCAA tournament, as far as basketball goes, is more entertainment than this team ends up being the best team all year.
Right.
Anybody that was my favorite argument with Gonzaga, where they lost, and we talked about it last week.
Right.
It doesn't mean Gonzaga ended up being an overrated team. They just lost a game. It's very difficult to win 6 straight games against 6 straight opponents over a 3-week period, and it just shows. That's why you have all these upsets. And usually the cream will rise to the top, and it has. There's no crazy seeds left. I guess North Carolina as an 8 seed it is pretty crazy. But I mean, we get that Duke North Carolina matchup. But we'll talk about that and more. LC again having a ridiculous week. Both baseball, track and field. Again, I have to write 5 paragraphs of all the records that they're breaking. I can't even talk about normal performances because there's so many records being broken every single meet that we can't talk about the normal stuff at all. WSU is getting ready to tip off in their semifinals game at the NIT over at Madison Square Garden. I love how that you put Madison Square Gardens. There's one garden there in Madison Square. Colton, who used to work at the Lewiston Tribune, is there in attendance. So I'm very, very jealous about that. We will start our MLB season preview predictions this week. We'll do divisions, World Series, Cy Youngs, and all that stuff next week. But we'll have some fun. We'll bring back some old segments. We'll start some new segments. We're going to have some fun with it. And then the last half hours of the show, your parents aren't going to listen.
I know.
They will turn it off. It is WrestleMania week.
It is WrestleMania.
We are both wrestling nerds.
Yep.
And I'm very, very excited. I have to work Saturday, so I'll be kind of watching it here and there, and then probably watching it Sunday morning in full, and then I'll be able to watch night 2 of WrestleMania. By the way, I love 2 nights of WrestleMania instead of all of these matches that we're going to talk about in one night. It'd be brutal.
I was telling you off air before we got started that it was going to be kind of a crazy day because Bubba grandson turns 3 on Friday, and we're going to do a party on Saturday. Still don't know what the game plan of that is yet, but whether or not if they're coming, because they normally stay with us on Saturday, and so watching Saturday night's stuff might be a little interesting. I plan on watching Fridays live as they are going to do all the induction stuff. But I mean, we didn't even have that. We'll talk about the big induction and the last tag team that got inducted.
Yes.
We'll talk
there's
about
not a
that
lot
later.
of inductees this year.
I think there's only 4.
But I 4 inductees, and then Shad Gaspard is the Warrior Award,
right?
Which is
Which
very
is awesome.
well deserved.
Which is awesome. Yeah,
that's a cool moment. So we will get into all of that. We're going to talk some Aussie rules football. There's one of us that has the best team in the league, and it's not you.
Not me this time, but you got to win.
Got 2.
Congratulations.
We're number 1.
I know.
We have the top spot.
Well, it's not going to last, but
no, absolutely not. So allow me to have this 1 week where the Thorn Hawks are sitting number 1.
Why didn't you wear your sweatshirt today? I know it's warm out there, but you should have had your Hawthorne shirt on. Sporting it with your LCSC Warriors hat.
And my daughter's still very proud of the shirt that she got me for Father's Day last year, so we gotta wear it.
Yeah, well, and she just celebrated her birthday last week.
Her birthday's on Thursday.
It's Thursday, but I mean,
we did
the party.
Week, so.
They're growing up quick. But
ridiculous. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the meat of the show.
Well, let's talk about the very beginning of it first.
Of what?
We've had so many new people adding, a ton of new people, all because of having MMA on. Dude, I got to give a shout out to these guys. Those guys at Arnett Martial Arts, everybody is starting to follow.
They want to see you get your butt kicked.
So I went home and I told Denise about this, and she kind of laughed at me because wanted to make sure the insurance policy was up to date. But she's like, "You're gonna die in there." Well, probably would. So, but big shout out to those guys. I know a lot of those guys listen. Also, Clarkson High School wrestling pages listening, but lots of new followers. So make sure you go and follow on their page and all that if you're listening to the radio one. But how about we start with the biggest thing? Denny Grubb gives us the tie last week in our sports related.
I'm not happy about it.
I'm okay with that. I mean, it was going to be a close one anyway.
No one. I had to win. He was just so upset that we did not say Chris Davis, and he's too nice of a guy.
First tie ever.
So last tie I'm ever allowing.
How was that Saturday? I mean, big honors for Denny Grubb.
Very cool.
I know you were texting me. I tried because we were bowling at the time that was happening. I was trying to load it on my phone, but internet was really spotty in the one bowling center we were at, and so I couldn't get the feed to load to even watch it. But had to be a big moment.
It was very, very cool. I was very honored to be the PA for that moment and being able to read off the script that they gave me for him. He went out in front of his new press box, and everyone cheered and applauded. And we've already given him lots of grief about it. My favorite was Sunday. Brian Danner asking permission to come into the Denny Grubb press box. And
I can see Danner doing that too.
we had a lot of fun with it. Denny Grubb's a fantastic human being, and this is a very well-deserved honor for him. But we definitely had lots of fun with it. And of course, you can't honor Denny Grubb without having a ridiculous day of baseball, with records just getting shattered left and right. And still, the way he was able to just pop off different stats within 5 minutes of it happening, it's still impressive.
Well, I know you and I were texting back and forth, telling me these guys are just going nuts, home runs.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a bit, but yeah.
We'll get into that as well. By the way, 25 followers away on our Facebook page, or on our sports report. Check us out there. Once we hit 600, we will put up a poll. One of us will go into train. The other person will be the Paul Heyman / Bobby Heenan / Jim Cornette type, just being there as motivation, and it'll be a lot of fun. Also, definitely check out KLCZ 88.9 FM for all. Well, if the computer ever works, and it's now undoing changes, which is fantastic. If James is hanging out listening somewhere, I'm sorry, it's not looking good over on this side. But once they get that fixed, you can listen to all sorts of fantastic music.
He's hiding back there behind. He's like, oh, man.
Sorry, James.
Sorry for the bad news, but
we'll be able to check that out. Also, klcz.com, where you can listen to us live there as well every Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m., minus a couple weeks from now when I'll be in Vegas, you'll be out somewhere, and we'll just do the show at some point, because that's
how it works.
That's what we're going to have to do sometimes. All right, let's get into the Randy rant. We've been beating around the bush. We've been hemming and hawing about it. The NFL came out with a new rule today.
I knew as soon as I typed it in there, you were going to get.
I knew you were going to bring it up, and I have been festering on this thing all day long. So everyone complaining about the new overtime rule. You get your wish, kind of.
The Colts and the Eagles,
which was weird.
They put it on the table.
So new overtime rule just for the postseason, because that makes sense. Let's not try this out in the regular season and see how it works. Let's throw it all in there on the most important games of the season. So the new rule is participation awards in overtime. Everybody gets a chance at holding the football in overtime, because that will negate the coin toss. I have not heard anyone else ever come out with the idea that I have come up with many times on this show, that the last team to score, which ties the game up, the other team gets the ball first. Whoever had the lead last in regulation gets the ball first in overtime. You want to negate the coin toss, that's how you do it. But you're going to have the coin toss, then the first team is going to get the ball, and no matter what happens, the other team is going to get the ball. And if we're still tied after each of those possessions, then you go to sudden death. So the game that this happened for, the Chiefs and the Bills, right?
Right.
So with this new rule, all we would get is Patrick Mahomes going down scoring his touchdown. Allen would go down score his touchdown. And Mahomes would go 30 yards, they'd kick the field goal, and everyone would be upset that the game ended on a field goal. And we didn't get Josh Allen to get his second chance. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, we've gotten to the whole point that I just shared, but I don't understand. I mean, you play to win the game. Mm-hmm. Famously
said by a New York Jet, and the Jets don't win the games.
And it's just frustrating to see, just because somebody wants one way to get a second chance in scoring a touchdown. You know that offense was going to, even if Allen had a chance to go down, you know that offense was clicking
Yeah.
I mean, they would have marched down that field that day, easily walked in there.
So then the very next drive, Kansas City still wins the game, and we just move on. There's defense in football. Allow the defense to make a stop.
Right.
It should just be sudden death. I do like that it's not a field goal because at that point you don't have to go 20, 30 yards. But just come on. Also, I give full credit to Rich Eisen. I listened to him this afternoon. I watched the clip of his show this morning, and he also hates it. But he brought up a point I hadn't thought of yet, and that is it completely changes the overtime game plan. Whoever wins the coin toss to start overtime is not going to receive the ball first. It's going straight college. You're guaranteed to get a possession. So if my team and your team is in overtime and I win the coin toss, I'm letting you have the ball first. And then after whatever you do, then I know what I have to do. You kick a field goal, I know at least I can get a field goal and extend the game. If you score a touchdown, then any fourth down, I'm going for it. Going all the way down. And then if I score the touchdown, then I have that difficult decision of, can my defense stop him from kicking a field goal? If the answer is no, do I go for 2 and try to win the game there? So yes, does it add some interesting aspects to it? Sure. But it completely changes everything. And the fact that we're only doing it in the postseason makes no sense. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And that's just the way it is.
I'm the same way. It goes in. I know a lot of these guys are trying to change things for it to be fair, but that was why the game was developed. Win it when you're supposed to, and if you can't win it when you're supposed to, then what are you gonna do? It's the whole ghost runner thing. What MLB is doing now, I hate that.
God, I'm so mad it's back.
And now we got to deal with it again. I'm okay with them changing it with having a DH now. Take the emphasis off the pitcher, fine. But it's the same thing. Why is everybody changing?
As far as with baseball and the extra inning rules, I'm a John boy. 10th, 11th, 12th innings. Nobody really wants an 18-inning game. Right? I love baseball. Have to go for 2 after that. We're not going any farther than that. But it's sudden death after the first possessions each, so it's not like college. But as far as the extra innings and the extra base runner, again, I'm a John boy. 10th, 11th, and 12th innings, just keep normal. If you still can't decide, go carnival games at that point to end the game. You've had 12 innings to figure this out. Pick your fastest runners, run around the bases. Do a home run derby. I don't care. Just throwing an extra base runner out there is the silliest stuff. Or, if you want to go with the extra base runner, go ham. All right, we've gone 12 innings. Bases loaded, you get 1 out. So now you're not trying to bunt across. Bases loaded, you get 1 out. Go for it. You score runs, all right, the other team has a chance to score runs. Your guy strikes out, whatever. You just go crazy with it. But it's silly. The whole thing is silly. All right, speaking of silly, we'll get to it in a second. But let's go through some more free agents first. Former Asotan Panther, Idaho Vandal, Jesse Davis, who was cut from the Miami Dolphins, signs with the Minnesota Vikings. I have to say, I didn't realize the hate for Jesse Davis with the Miami Dolphins until he got cut. That news came out. Maybe it's just because you're an offensive lineman. You're only getting noticed when you do something wrong. But there was way too much happy when Jesse Davis got cut. It was weird to me.
Yeah, and I don't know about that because he was the quarterback. He was the captain for like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Bounced around in all 5 positions. Well, 4 of the 5 positions. I don't think he ever snapped the ball, but he played every one of the positions. He started 72 of the 80 games, and yes, I did make a typo there. But it's just crazy to think about that a guy that was main thing. But now you think about where he's going. All right, let's go to Minnesota. Let's go up there. And I think from what I was hearing and what I haven't seen, they haven't dispersed all of the details, was like 3 years. So, that would be a great place for him. But got to go protect Kirk Cousins. I don't know about that.
He's not winning at Miami anyway, so
No.
It doesn't matter where he's going. I noticed you had a typo in here. You said Jacoby Brissett was going to the Dolphins. He's going to the Browns.
He's going to the Browns. Left the Dolphins.
Still doesn't matter. Andy Dalton back up now for the Saints. Doesn't matter. Greg Zuerlein, one of now 2 kickers with the Jets. Let's have a kicker battle.
Who are they going to hold on to in New York?
I don't know. I'm more worried about the draft. I don't care about who the kicker is right now. You got to have enough protection and enough weapons for Zach Wilson to get down far enough to be able to attempt a field goal right now. That's the least of my worries. Ronald Jones goes to the Chiefs. Could be a decent extra back there. They have some good weapons. I know a lot of people are farther down on the Chiefs right now than before the offseason began. Still a fantastic team.
But
The AFC is just ridiculous.
it was already funny listening and saying with the move and thinking about the Chiefs, seeing Tyreek leave and what they were planning on doing with Tyreek. And they want to do the same thing that San Francisco did with Samuel. Put him in the backfield, moving around, handing the ball a little bit more in the back and doing that. I think also, we touched on Andy Dalton signing with the Saints for backup role. Now that says Taysom Hill, guess what? They're going to focus him more in as a tight end. I don't see him as that body being the tight end guy.
Who being a tight end?
Taysom Hill.
No.
So they're going to move him.
That's his official position.
Yeah,
Or it was.
It's just
when
crazy
Drew Brees
to think
was there.
about. I don't know. It's just crazy to think about. You got James Winston there now, Andy Dalton, Taysom Hill. So you're going to see Wildcat a little bit more probably out of that offense. It'll be interesting.
Miami's going to be garbage. With 2 there, they're going to be complete garbage.
Right.
They're not going to be Jets garbage, but they're going to be garbage.
Yeah, but I'm talking Taysom Hill and New Orleans and what
They're
that's
going to be garbage too. All garbage. The NFC is garbage. I'm in a mood because nothing's working.
You're still on your rant.
Pro days happen at WSU and Idaho. It's dead. It gave up. The computer to my left has completely given up hope, and we will have a funeral for this computer on Friday. Pro days for both Washington State and Idaho happened. I love that you just gave up on Idaho. Idaho had some cool stuff. How about defensive end for the Vandals? Is it Coyote? I can't say his name. I apologize to you, sir. How about 29 reps on the 225-pound bench press? 2 more than Kayvon Thibodeau, the top prospect out of Oregon, who's looking at to go in the top 5. He would have had the most reps for a defensive end at the combine if he had went. So congratulations to him. Cougars obviously also had their pro day. They had 12 different people participate. 31 of the 32 NFL franchises attended. You know the one team that did not?
I do. And it was just because everybody was bashing on him for not showing up.
Why? Why would they need to show up?
And that's kind of what I thought. I was reading the comments in the area.
Yeah, go ahead and announce.
Los Angeles Rams.
You know why they didn't show up?
Well, they're stacked. They don't have any more money.
They don't have any more money. They don't have a draft pick in the first 100 picks. They don't care about the draft. They don't care about any of this.
I don't see them making any moves whatsoever.
Any of their moves are, we have draft picks in 10 years. Would you like those? That is their new game plan. So why would they want to go look at college players that I think they probably have like 3 picks total in this entire draft. They're going to just pick from a hat and then trade them later for bigger names. It's just, that is the Los Angeles Rams way now. And it worked out. It got them a Super Bowl.
I do think, though, and I haven't read any more about how it went, but I really think Max Borghi could make an impact someplace this year. I think he'll be an early second rounder. I don't know.
No.
I don't think he'll make any.
He might not even be a day 2. He's definitely not a first round. There's not going to be a running back that goes in the first
I
round.
don't think so.
And he's not a top 5 running back in this class.
All defense, I think, is where a lot of things.
There's going to be a lot of defense in that first round. A
A
couple quarterbacks will be sprinkled in. There's going to be a lot of wide receivers too. The wide receiver class is crazy deep. But no running backs will be in the first round. That is my prediction. We will get into more of those predictions as that comes up. We're got about a month away
28
from that.
Yeah.
I got to start coming up with a format for our live stream and start building that up. But yeah, I honestly I don't even see Borgie going in the first 2 days.
Really?
I don't see him in the first 3 rounds.
I can see him in somewhere in the middle of the second round. I really do.
He seems really happy.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens out of that group. You had Jackson that was getting looked at, but
by the way,
so
before we move on to LCSC, I don't know if you've been reading the Tribune and Dale's coverage of spring football practices. And I'm going to get it wrong because I don't have it pulled up, but I'm going to go off of what I joke about every time I see it in our article. What in the world is up with Washington State giving out juice boxes for the guy who tried the hardest in practice?
What?
I don't think they officially give out juice boxes, but it's like a juice something player of the day that they announce.
It must be the new coach thing.
I don't understand. These are college kids. Why are we giving out juice boxes of the day? I forget what it was called, but I laughed at it every single time he brings it up. It's just slightly embarrassing.
I don't yeah.
I'll see if I can find it, but
I'll have to get on Dale about that. That's a juice box of the day. Is that like getting a snack pack when you were younger? Too?
It has to be.
Here you go. You get your chocolate. You get your chocolate pudding, a cheese stick, and a juice box. It only cost you 99 cents.
Juice Men of the Day. That's what it's called. The Juice Men of the Day. So they give them a juice box, I guess. That better be tied to a sponsorship. It should. I mean, that's the only reason I think you would do that. It's for the radio people. I forget that we're actually on the radio with things not working. But Eric Watkins on our Facebook page said that should be tied to a sponsorship or something. And Harry Broder is also saying that he would prefer a snack pack. Absolutely. Give me a snack pack. We're going to go on a whole side thing again. Welcome to the spring break edition of the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCC 88.9.
The R&R Sports Report brought to you by Hunt's and the snack pack.
So we went on God, we love food. That's just what I've learned. But peanut butter and jelly, right? We went on that rant, and that took on. A question we need to add on for at least the rest of this year, especially when we have baseball players on, is what was your favorite Little League post-game snack? We coached together, and you know how you spread out from the kids' parents, and they have to bring in snacks. And I remember as a kid, there was a big difference between one parent and the next. Like some of them you get full on Gatorades and a snack pack or something, and others it's like here's your dry crackers.
Listen, I can't remember what I used to do when I played soccer, and that was back when I was like 5 or 6. So Mom and Dad, if you can remember what you brought, I sure the hell, sure didn't remember, but I remember even a few years ago when we were doing radio for Clarkson and in double headers, parents were bringing boxes of chips.
Yeah.
And that one day I ended up making 2 big pulled pork butts and smoking pork, and we had pork sandwiches and potato salad and all that.
I don't know if you can say butts on a college radio.
Pork butts.
Stop saying it.
It's food.
I've lost it.
It's food.
Today has just killed my brain.
But it's a juice box. All right, we're sponsored by a juice box now.
You think Capri Sun would do it? That's not really even a box. It's just it's a juice pouch, I guess. Is what a Capri Sun is.
And Denny, if you only knew the things we talk about ice cream sandwiches while we're coaching, it's a motivation up there at Lincoln Middle School. If you make a good hard hit, you get an ice cream sandwich.
But you don't coach college football in a Pac-12 school.
No. It's just funny.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's get to some LCSC news. We still got Danny Grubb listening. Again, we honored him on Saturday. It is now the Danny Grubb press box. I am still disappointed, speaking of sponsorships, that it's not been sponsored by Grubhub quite yet. Maybe next year.
I expect ice cream sandwiches, Denny, next time I'm there.
Oh, that's not fair. I won't be there. But let's talk about this weekend.
All right.
How about this LCSC team? Absolutely on fire. Now 33-1 on the year. They sweep British Columbia. And those first 3 games were absolutely nuts. Sunday, that was just a straight beating. That's a normal LC game.
You never texted me about Sunday stuff,
Because
so
I
didn't know what happened. You know.
Yeah, 14-4 on Sunday was never really even that much of a contest. So, some errors at third base. LC really needs to tighten up that left side of the defense. Obviously, Riley at shortstop is fantastic, but with some injuries happening out in left field, Matt James, fantastic dude, great catcher, great hitter, not the best left fielder. And then we're struggling at the third base position defensively. It's an understatement at this point. But how about this? Friday, LC on 23 straight games they had won going into this game. If they sweep the series, which they ended up doing, they tied the LC record for most wins in a row. First game of the series, you go down 8-3 to British Columbia going into the bottom of the 9th inning. There was 1 out in this inning. And there comes LC. No home runs, just poking it where there ain't. And they come back, win that game 9-8. Slightly anticlimactic fashion as Matt James got hit by a pitch. And just in the hand area. So then you had to have the huddle of did it hit his hand, did it hit his bat? And then they determined that it did hit James. So they get the walk-off win there. How about the first game of a doubleheader where LC wins 13-1, but they were 1 out away from a no-hitter, a combined no-hitter, in a game where the starting pitcher walked 3 batters in the first inning. I think he walked 6 batters in his 3 innings pitched, 3 or 4 innings that he pitched. He walked like 6 batters, hit 1 or 2 more. So it never felt like a no-hitter, but they were 1 out away from a no-hitter, gave up 3 straight singles, and gave up the run that way. But they win that one 13-1. Also in that game, Luke White in the big, I think it was 6th inning. If Denny's still listening, he would correct me for sure. I think it was the 6th inning. LC just completely goes bonkers. Luke White hits 2 home runs in the same inning. First time that has happened by any Warrior player since head coach Jake Taylor did it back in 1993. Very cool picture on lcwarriors.com or their Twitter page of Luke White rounding third and shaking hands. Hey, I got it right. And shaking hands with Jake Taylor. And it's like, oh, here's the last 2 Warriors that accomplished this feat, all in the same picture. So Luke White went absolutely bonkers in that one. And then he homers his first 2 at-bats in the next game.
Dude's on fire, man. He's just a beast out there on the field.
Absolutely insane. Though, now I'm saying, maybe it was the second game he hit the 2 home runs, and then the 4th game is where he hit the next 2. I've gotten it all confused in my head. There's too much. But Charlie Updegrave in that 3rd game, the second game on Saturday, breaks an LC record. He had 10 RBI. His last at-bat in the 6th inning. Again, this is only a 7-inning game. The Warriors only came up to the plate in 6 innings, and he sets the record. Had a runner at second. We were just thinking, all right, base hit, tie the record. No, I'm going to hit my 3rd home run of the game. Best part of that stat for Charlie Updegrave, that was his first start ever as an LC Warrior.
It's just nuts to see how deep the Taylor's got with these guys and what they can do and move them around and play just about anywhere, have a pitcher come out, make a spot start. It's nuts. And to know that this team is one of those teams that people want to come and play for. You know, they want to make the trip out here and play in a baseball town. Mm-hmm. And so I think Taylor is getting up there to the point of going to be one of those guys that people want to come and play for.
Yeah, for sure. And it's going to be interesting, obviously, LC having to qualify for the World Series, which we've said multiple times, 76 episodes of this thing. We've always said we are totally for that. They should not have gotten an automatic bid into the World Series. So I'm glad that they have to earn it. It's going to be a difficult road. You know that there's going to be a lot of fantastic teams. 5 teams will be here in Lewiston in 4 weeks. I think it is, maybe 5.
I think it's 5 because it's just right before I leave. I think.
I think it's the beginning of May is when the opening rounds for the World Series happen. That will be here at Harris Field. 5 teams show up, double elimination. Only 1 team gets to make it to that final 10 at the World Series, which is also here in Lewiston. But this team is getting there. Like, the offense is great. Pitching has been up and down. And as we know, pitching is everything come World Series time. So we'll see if they can kind of tighten that up and continue this historic run. But again, 33-1, 27 straight wins.
And I think they're still ranked 3rd.
They're still 3rd.
Still 3rd, yeah.
21-0 at home, and they get a 4-game set at Corbin starting on Friday. See if they can break the record on Friday afternoon. Both the men and women's tennis teams were off this week, and now they're off to Indiana for craziness. So the men who are 7-5 on the year, they get Judson from Illinois, St. Thomas from Florida, Holy Cross College of Indiana, and then they go to Huntington, Indiana to play them at their home court. Those are their 4 matches, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The women get St. Thomas and William Woods of Missouri on Friday, and then they also go to Huntington on Saturday. So Kai Fong, again, just
likes to travel.
We were talking about the women's schedule being very sparse the rest of the way. Kai is just like, I don't care where we gotta go. Let's play whoever wants to play us right now. I kind of want to see LC do that more, or the baseball team do that more. It's early on. They make their trip to California and Arizona at the beginning of the year, but then they get right into all the Cascade stuff. I'd like to be able to see more teams travel up here, LC travel a bit more, and maybe people get off our backs a little bit.
I've seen bounce around a little bit, yeah.
For golf, I have not seen results just yet. While Robert talks about track and field here in a second, I'll see if I can find them. But both the men and the women were leading in the Wine Valley Invitational in Walla Walla after Monday.
Final rounds were today, I think.
Yeah. The women, I think, only had a 2 or 3 stroke lead over second place. The men had a 15 stroke lead. But I will see if I can get final results about there. And then you get into track and field.
Yeah, Madigan Kelly improved on her 100-meter hurdle record and qualified for nationals, which was awesome. 14.41 was her winning time in the hurdles. Also, Ashley Britt won the 400-meter hurdles. Kelly finished 2nd. Annika Grogan finished 2nd in the 400-meter. Great time, 57.01. And just what that Lewiston girl is doing for LC right now. Annika is just cleaning things up. Also, 200 meters, she was at just over 25 seconds. Sydney Solana set a program best leap at 10 feet, 7.71 in the triple jump. Clayton Van Dyke, we can't say the show without Clayton, set another LCSC record in the 800 and won the event with a time of 1:51.13, also qualifying for nationals. So crazy. Also, London Kirk, Ike Hopper, Bryson Brown, and Clayton Van Dyke set another program record in the 4x400 in winning time of 3 minutes and 3:21.7. So they'll be down in Nampa on April 1st and 2nd for the NNU Invitational.
I told you. The track and field gets a ton of notes in our radio setup, and you have to break a record to be able to get on that that long section that we have to write every time. As far as golf goes, both the men and the women are victorious today, so congratulations to both of those teams. The men ended up beating Multnomah by 23 strokes, so congratulations there, and the women held on to their 2-stroke advantage over Corbin. They both shot a team score of 323 today. Whitworth finishes 3rd there, a good 21 strokes back. Carlos De Villa on the men's side ends up winning the individual tournament. He shot a 2 under 70 today to win that. And Gianna Caruso, who she the one that we had on last year?
We've had both of them on. So
yeah, she ended up winning on the women's side. So congratulations to both.
That's what it is. You guys all of you athletes, just keep coming on the show, and you keep setting records, and you keep winning.
Absolutely. LC will take part in the final Cascade Conference Tournament on April 11th and the 12th at Salem, Oregon. And then the conference championship will be April 25th through the 26th. So that probably that week before, we're going to have to try to get at least one of them on as well. Let's get into our NCAA brackets. And let's start on the men's side before I get into my brag mode. But your final four on the men's side, Duke versus North Carolina. How juicy is that matchup? First time ever in the NCAA tournament, these two teams have met.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I with everything going on with Coach K and retiring, I think they're on a mission. I think they're gonna run through North Carolina. But I think I'm more intrigued in the other matchup with Kansas Villanova. I think it's going to be Villanova beating the number 2 Villanova beating number 1 Kansas. So I think it's going to be Duke and Villanova in the finals. So it'll be an interesting matchup, but they've got to get through it there on Saturday. So
it's just so disappointing that that's not what you put on your bracket.
I know it's not what I put on my bracket because you came out while I'm bowling. I'm bowling terrible on Thursday. So guess what? Your bracket is garbage.
Destroyed. Yeah, Gonzaga and Arizona both lose the same day.
I'm like,
Arizona definitely hurt my bracket as well. But as far as the men's side go, you finished with 55 points. You are done. As both of your finalists are out. You only had one Final Four team, right? You only had Kansas?
I have Kansas, yeah.
For me, I am at 60 points. I still have Duke remaining. I have Duke winning it all, so I can add a bunch of points there just to pour some salt in the wound a little bit. But not our best showings in these brackets. The men's bracket for both of us kind of looked like our NAIA bracket.
No, my NAIA was okay. I took the win, but my men's one this year just looked horrendous, especially losing out of the bottom. I think the Midwest was the toughest one for me. I had taken Wisconsin, I had taken Auburn a little bit. I took Iowa all the way through to the 16.
I think the East was the worst for everybody. I didn't have a single Sweet 16 in the East. But
I had Purdue, but
I'm the winner, and that's all.
You win that one. You win that one.
I win that one, but I also win the women's bracket, and I might even lap you.
Can we just move on from that one? I really don't want to talk about that.
We got to give respect to the women's tournament as well. Again, they might have had the best game in either tournament yesterday between UConn and NC State. I was able to watch some of the end of that game. It was absolutely fantastic. And a bit more chalky, which is why my bracket was able to look so pristine at the end of it, as you get, 3 number 1s and a number 2 in the Final Four. You get South Carolina and Louisville and Stanford and UConn. Those games will be on Friday. And then the national finals is on Sunday, I do believe. For me, I've already won the bracket, just like on the men's. You are at 62 points. You do have South Carolina remaining, and you do have them winning it all. So you have plenty of points available for you. Unfortunately for you,
it's not going to be enough anymore.
I also have South Carolina winning it all, so you can't even gain points if things completely implode for me. And I had all 4 Final Four teams correct. Very, very happy about that. I had my right side of the bracket. We talked about it last week. Continues to be almost perfect. I had 7 of the 8 in the Sweet 16 on the right side. I had 3 of the 4 from the Elite 8. I do lose Notre Dame on that upset prediction against NC State. That was another really good game. But again, getting all 4 Final Four teams. So if you're curious how the rest of the women's bracket is going to go, South Carolina is going to beat Louisville. Stanford will beat UConn, and then South Carolina will beat Stanford. It has already been predicted.
Yeah, that bracket looks crazy good for you on that side. Just even looking at points today, I'm like, okay, I really don't want to add these up because
it's a lot.
Because I had to take out my calculator and start plugging in numbers because it was so bad.
95 for me, and it's still going. So yeah, I win both NCAA brackets. Robert, you did win both NAIA brackets, so congratulations there. In the NIT, Xavier did end up defeating who they faced, St. Bonaventure, right?
Yep.
They win that game 84-77. WSU has tipped off. They're a little over 5 minutes in to their semifinal game against the top-seeded Texas A&M. Texas A&M currently leading 7-3. We'll try to keep you updated right in that game going on at Madison Square Garden. If you win the NIT as WSU, then how much pride do you take out of that?
They have to do a little bit. They didn't get into the main bracket, but to be able to play against some great teams on that NIT side.
Honestly, I think you take a lot of pride because WSU was not good at the beginning of the year. They really turned things on late and became a very strong team, which is they are showing in the NIT. It's a good sign for next year.
Yeah.
As they try to push forward from it. Absolutely. Even if they lose here, I think you take a lot from this run that they did. Look at some high school sports. Both Lewiston's baseball and softball were down south playing quote unquote. I hate when they call them tournaments, and then you just play a bunch of teams. It's just a jamboree, I guess, is a better way to.
That's the way I would.
Let's all get together and play. That's what these are called. They're not tournaments. But for the baseball team, they win their first 3. They do lose to Rocky Mountain 9-8, though from all accounts that was their best played game. It came down to the end. Lewiston just comes up a little bit short, but they defeat Pocatello 10-0. They defeat Idaho Falls on a walk-off 5-4. They crushed Madison 20-7, and again that 9-8 loss to Rocky Mountain. So 7-1 for former LC Warrior Darren Trainer's new squad.
I love the record. I mean, what Trainer's doing for them, I think it's going to be a good thing. 7-1 to start the season. I mean, hats off to what they're going. They've got Moscow coming up next week as it's spring break for them.
Good pitching on that Moscow squad. They just played Pullman yesterday. I talked to the Moscow coach for a good 10-15 minutes last night. And for the games that I have been watching from Lewiston and obviously with LC, to see a final score of 3-1 with a combined 8 hits, and I'm not used to that.
Right.
But Moscow has got a good pitching squad. It would be a good test for Lewiston. That'll be next week.
Tuesday, doubleheader, 3 o'clock. So it'll be interesting. Bantams come away with a really tough loss to East Valley. I think it reminded me a little bit of you were talking about kind of the same scenario we were talking about what we should do for playoff or for extra innings. This was kind of that scenario is Bantams have bases loaded in the 6th inning. Nobody out. I think they did push one across early and then loaded the bases, and then East Valley brought in a new pitcher and struck out the side.
Yeah. Ouch.
I can just imagine what that
I also took this call at the Tribune. It was not benching that called.
Really?
He had a kid call. So I don't think he was pleased.
He had a kid call, or he had one of the other coaches call?
It was a kid. It was one of the high school kids. I could tell. Yeah, but we got through the box.
Yeah, so Bantams now 1-2 on the year after the loss to East Valley, 4-3 this last Friday night. Their next game is going to be against Pullman up there in Pullman on Saturday, as they get a doubleheader up there noon and at 2 o'clock. So it'll be interesting with that one. We look over to Soton. Soton a little bit struggling after being quote unquote the defending champions from 2019 and then missing 220. But they end up splitting against Kettle Falls. Kettle Falls wins the first one 7-2, and then Soton comes back and wins 10-3. They did play today a doubleheader. I have not seen any scores, nothing posted yet from Northwest Christian as they were on the road there. And then they will travel to your favorite place, Lynn Ritzville Sprague. Only 3 of the 5.
Just 3 of the 5.
Only 3 of the 5
Just
counts.
come up with a cool name.
Yeah, that's what I think too. They are playing out there on Saturday, also at noon and 2. And then they will be away at Pomeroy, taking on a buddy of our team, Richie's boys team.
Richie
Pomeroy.
sent me something about his kid batting like 800 to start the year.
Yeah,
Pretty crazy.
He was in a couple of the articles the last couple times I've seen and read against Pomeroy. But Soton will travel to Pomeroy on Tuesday for just a single game, 4 p.m. Hopefully we'll get scores from that one.
On the softball side, again, like I said, the Lewiston team also heading down south and played 4 games. Did split, a lot of good competition down there. They did give Capital their first loss. They went out in 6-5. They beat 7-4. And then the crazy thing is they had to play like at 7 in the morning or something down there, and definitely were not awake for it. They lose to Owyhee 13-2 and Mountain View 18-3, but it's a very good softball team. Don't let those 2 scores fool you. I felt bad. I actually woke up the coach when I was working down at the Tribune trying to get scores because I forgot about the hour time difference. And then when she told me how early they had to play the next day, I'm like, all right, bye. Let me get the scores and run. They will be playing Moscow in a doubleheader a week from today. There's at 3 and 5 p.m. up at Airport Park.
Clarkson, they are on fire so far, starting the season 3-0. Knock off East Valley on Thursday, 15-9. Leah Copeland hit her first home run ever. Wouldn't you love to have a grand slam for your first home run? As they do break the 6-6 tie in the 6th inning with a grand slam and then end up winning that one 15-9. They will host Colfax on Tuesday next week, 4 o'clock game up in Lincoln.
Yeah, Soton doing fantastically as they sweep Kettle Falls. They're now 6-0 on the year. They also had a doubleheader today with Northwest Christian. So we will see what those results are later on. Lewiston boys defeated Lake City in tennis 10-2. So congratulations to them as well. And I forgot to write it down, but it looked like we had some local wrestlers in a big national tournament do well. So I apologize for not getting that. Definitely check out the Lewiston Tribune for that article.
And then hopefully next week we'll have some results for the Clarkson High School and Clarkson Lincoln Middle School, as they had a few of them qualify for nationals, and they're heading down to Utah for nationals. A few of them left yesterday, so hopefully we'll have some results from Coach Pat Ogden next week for that. So good luck and congratulations to those guys.
And what sport?
What's that? Archery.
Archery.
Yeah. I thought I could have sworn.
Or at least I didn't hear it.
Yeah, archery. So hats off to what Pat Ogden has done with that program at the high school level and at the junior high level. Lots of kids that you wouldn't think want to go out and do things, and you put a bow and arrow in front of them, and man, they can shoot lights out. Some of those kids, 300 being a perfect score, and some of these kids shooting 280s and 270s. It's just crazy to think about.
My internet kicked away. I'm glad you started the show because my internet doesn't work. Trying to get updates.
I think it's you. There must be something that you're possessing
falling
today.
Apart. Just everything's falling apart today. It's spring break and nothing wants to work. That's just how it is. Right now, 7-7 WSU and Texas A&M. About 8 minutes gone in that one. You look at your NBA scoreboard. We don't talk a lot NBA because neither of us really care. But the Mavericks defeat the Lakers 128-110. The Lakers continue to fall apart. Bulls defeat the Wizards 107-94. Bucks in a good one there with the 76ers. They beat them 118-116. It looks like the Nets will beat the Pistons. They're up 130-123 with about 40 seconds to go. And then your nightcap will be the Jazz and the Clippers. You look at the hockey scoreboard, and everyone is playing today. Goodness gracious. How about the Maple Leafs beating the Bruins 6-4? Panthers beating the Canadiens 7-4. I've realized that there's no defense left in hockey just by some of these scores today. The Wild are beating the Flyers 4-0 after 2. It looks like the Islanders beat the Blue Jackets 4-3. Rangers beating the Penguins 3-2. So there's a lot of action out there as they're getting ready for postseason play in both NHL and the NBA. You are listening to KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston right here at the LCSC campus. Also check us out on klcz.com and also go over to that R&R Sports Report Facebook page. Give us a like. We are 25 away from one of us having to go train with a UFC group or MMA group, that will kick our butts.
I can see
your butt because you're going to win.
No. They're going to put you in there.
They want to see you get in there, not me. It's just, we will find out, I guess.
Well, between Jared and Brian and Dimitri, it'll be.
They all want to to see how flexible you are.
Yeah, I'm far from flexible. I'm old.
All right, let's get into some MLB offseason and get into the beginnings of our season preview. Opening day is a week from Thursday now as we get closer and closer. A lot of spring training going on right now. The season should be starting now, but that's...
Oh, Denny, we were trying to stay away from that, Denny.
Oh. Denny grew up with the old Will Smith over Chris Rock. That's not true. Chris Rock stood his ground, which is why everyone thinks it's fake, because Will Smith did not throw a very
You
good,
look at his hand, though.
good slap.
How it looked like Rock had clenched up his fist a little
He
bit.
wanted to go, and he almost wanted to say something else and decided not to. John Boy has a great breakdown.
Yeah, and what's funny, though, is Will Smith was laughing at the joke to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm going to end with it, because don't get me going on that, because now, comedians.
The sports show.
Exactly.
Did you see, speaking of John Boy, though, so first off, I mean, they don't care about us, but congratulations to John Boy. They are working now with the Yes Network,
right?
So becoming even
yeah.
bigger time.
They've got Chris Rose doing stuff with them now. I mean,
Chris Rose has been an employee for them for a few
6
years.
months. Oh, it's been that long?
Yeah.
I thought it was only like 6 or 8 months. But yeah,
He's been
it's
there
cool.
for a bit. But John Boy did a breakdown of a college hockey tournament. Have you seen this video?
Not the hockey one yet.
Go check it out. It's absolutely fantastic. Two teams going at it in overtime. One team thinks they won. Score the winning goal. Everyone celebrates. They do the whole dog pile. They do the lineup where they shake hands because hockey has respect, unlike a lot of other sports. They do the individual awards.
Right.
They give out the trophy. Everyone gets their lap with the trophy, kind of like it's a Stanley Cup, and everyone's having a good time.
Right.
They get together. They have their team photo. What am I missing?
Oh, hey, I saw that picture earlier too.
So they do their team photo, right? Families and friends and audience members have left. There you go. Yes, Minnesota State in the CCHA title game. I did send it to Eric. Everyone has left the stands. They show the broadcast, and the broadcast goes, all right, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up. Oh, wait, we're not going to take a commercial break. Wait, what's that? The goal is still under review. After all of that.
How can it be that long under review?
Because I'm going to guess they didn't review it, and then somebody noticed something. And now the goal is under review.
Oh, my God.
The players have now went into the locker rooms.
Probably half of them undressed.
Oh, 100%. Some of them probably very soaking wet from whatever they were celebrating with. Come to find out that when the goalie was moving to his right, his skate hit the goal and popped it up, and the puck actually went underneath the side of the net, so it was not a goal. They brought them all back out and restarted the game. The same team ended up winning, which was a good thing because that would have been a complete mess. And then they didn't do the whole rest of the rigmarole. If you want to see the whole thing, it's on John Boy. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, listen, you and I talk about John Boy all the time and what they break down in the sports. If you do not follow them, make sure you go to YouTube or even on Facebook and follow John Boy. Just the pure funniness of these guys and what they do. And the breakdowns. They do let the hot mics run, so there are a few times that you do hear a few things, but what those guys break down and do for baseball is nuts. So, all
right, let's get into this MLB. First off, Albert Pujols re-signing with St. Louis. This is the reason why you have the universal DH.
42-year-old man is going to resign and finish his career backwards.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. We talked about that moment last year when he went back to St. Louis in the standing ovation and he gets the home run. Very cool.
I love it.
Chris Archer signs a 1-year deal with Minnesota. Okay. And of course, the big one in the last week, Trevor Story signing the 6-year deal with Boston for $140 million. So all the shortstops are now taken care of, which it took forever to get there. All right. So like I said, opening day, a week from Thursday, full-on divisions and wild card and World Series and Cy Young and MVP predictions next week.
Yeah, we'll get them.
Our, these predictions that we're going to do here for the next 15, 20 minutes are the fun ones. We're going to have some goofy questions in here. Randy's Believe It or Not is coming back this segment.
Is it?
It's been a while.
I'm excited.
Since football season since I did Randy's Believe It or Not, but I want to bring it back for this. But we're going to do a new one. It's called Pick Your Poison, which is basically just pick somebody. That's just the way
I just threw some names in there. So
well, don't say it like that. You're supposed to go on here and be confident. And I absolutely know this stuff. We're supposed to put on a weird aura of knowledge here that.
We got knowledge.
Do we?
The MLB is so unpredictable. At least for me, it just seems so.
It's going to be
random.
With how weird the offseason was. It's going to be pretty interesting this time. All right. Pick your poison. Give me the team that improved the most in the offseason.
I know you kind of laughed at me, but I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm going to take Toronto just because they do make a few moves with signing Kikuchi, also Gosman, and you get Matt Chapman in there. I think they're moving to be a major contender. I don't know if they can get past New York and Boston. I still see them sitting at the 3 spot in the AL East.
Way too much hope for the Yankees.
I think they've got a chance, but it'll be interesting. But I'm gonna go.
By the way, you skipped a team in that.
Which one did I skip?
Tampa Bay. Don't do that. Don't sleep on Tampa Bay. Everyone sleeps on Tampa Bay. Eric is in our chat. He's going to lose his mind. Everyone but him and me, it seems like, always sleeps on Tampa Bay, and they always outperform whatever.
So you want me to say Baltimore Orioles will not be the bottom team this year in the AL East? Put me on record. I'm going to say that this year. Baltimore will not be.
Who?
I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
You got to name one.
Name one.
Out of those 4 teams. I already told Denny that I was really happy that Baltimore's in the AL East, so the Yankees are not that last team.
Put me down for Tampa. I think Tampa falls at the bottom.
You hear that, Eric?
Sorry.
Next time that we do a draft or a sports related draft, you're the judge. Just remember, Robert says your team's going to finish last.
Well, I'm already going to win tonight, so I already know that. Denny, I'm not. Listen, Denny, I'm not saying that they're going to be. They won't be the bottom.
Yeah, Denny grew up a Orioles fan. While we do his celebrations, he's wearing an Orioles shirt. For me, the team that improved the most, the New York Mets. So you already had Jacob deGrom, that top tier pitcher. Adding Max Scherzer and having them as a 1-2 punch, that feels like the Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling mode, but even better because neither of these guys are jerks. Chris Bassett adds some more depth to that rotation. They lose Noah Syndergaard, but did they really lose him? He's been injured so much that I don't think they realize he's even left the team. Starling Marte is absolutely fantastic, adds a lot of speed to this team. The Mets could be NL pennant contenders. I put them in the second tier. Obviously, the Dodgers are on a tier of their own.
Right.
But I put the Mets in that second tier. How about the team, pick your poison here, the team that lost the most in the offseason?
It's a no-brainer for me. I'm saying Oakland. I think they proved that they didn't go out and get anybody. They made no big moves whatsoever. And it was funny I'm trying to remember who it was that it was on a Twitter post that I saw. It was talking about them. They spent 25 cents on a gumball, which was more than what the Oakland Athletics did during the entire off season, which is true. They didn't do anything really. I mean, they did sign Montas, Frankie, but that's about the only thing that they did.
I'm surprised they didn't trade him.
So
there's still time. But for me, it's 2 teams. It's the Oakland A's and the Cincinnati Reds. Reds lose Castellanos. Winker, Suarez, Gray. I'm waiting for Votto. I'm still waiting. I still think Votto will move before the trade deadline. They're pretty set on not moving Luis Castillo, which he's young enough. I understand, but I just love the fact that the MLB went, hey, we're adding an extra playoff team, and the Reds went, well, let's get out of this right now. Let's not have hope come to trade deadline, because our plan was to move these people at the trade deadline. So now we have to move them now.
And you did say Winkler. I mean, Winker, he's done okay so far in spring training for Seattle. Did you see where they were interviewing him, and he wanted to call a batter, do the play-by-play, and the play-by-play, and I forget who was pitching, ended up giving up, got a first pitch strike, and great pitch. He was talking about the pitch, and then he said he's going to bring the heat right here, and he did. And then the heat went right over right field and gave up the home run. And he said, well, I'm done. So
I love our next question on Pick Your Poison. The team that is most affected by the extra playoff spot. We both went Homer.
You did. Yeah, I think you put that on there because you wanted us to go Homer. I really did.
I knew you would. And then when I looked at it more, I did too. And it's for the straight fact of, I think Tampa Bay and Toronto are the top tier in the AL East. Adding in that extra wild card and now having 3 of them helps the Yankees battle out with Boston. Because now it used to, like last year, it was, okay, you're going to get in. Like the Yankees and Red Sox both got in, but now you get that extra tier just in case, because I do think the AL West completely improved.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone in that division.
Even Texas.
Texas improved a ton.
I'm saying it right now, and I hate saying it because I'm a Mariner fan. Even Texas got that.
I think the Twins improved. I think the White Sox are okay. So, to me, if there was still only 2 wild card spots, it would probably be 1 team in the AL East and 1 team in the AL West, with the Central not quite being there.
Right.
And I don't know if the Yankees can finish in the top 2 in the AL East this year. Now, adding that extra wild card, it gives just that little bit of extra cushion. And I think that's the same reason why you picked Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. And Kelnick and what he's still got a little bit of proving to do as being the rookie coming in. He did get hurt in the very first part of the season, come back in the second half and did really, really well. I think that is huge. And the moves they made with Cincinnati, I think they're playing to want to get there sooner than later. So.
I've waited around long enough. I got to get this done. I want to go home. So let's wrap it up, man.
All right.
All right, let's move on to where are we at? Free agent that will make the most impact. What do you got?
Freddie Freeman. I think him moving to LA, I think he has something to prove. So give me Freddie.
Yeah, for me, it's Max Scherzer. I already told you, being the number 2 guy with the Mets, absolutely fantastic. I'm definitely going to go that route. How about under the radar MVP?
Probably for me, I think it's going to be Mookie Betts. I think he's got a real good chance. I think he's going to be the guy that is going to keep Boston in it.
I'm going really sneaky here because I think Minnesota is going to improve. How about Byron Buxton? He's always put up some great numbers. He gets some great speed in there as well. When you add in that to the fact of Minnesota improving, if they can make a good playoff run, I can see Byron Buxton getting in there.
I think so too. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
All right, let's move on to Randy's Believe It or Not. We'll go quickly because we're getting kicked out of the room apparently, but we'll do this and then the sports related draft, and I think we're going to end the show. But the Dodgers will win the NL West by 10 games or more. Believe it or not.
I don't think so. I think they win, but I still think San Francisco's a decent team. I think it'll be interesting.
I'm going to say no. The Giants showed last year that you don't have to have the great talent to stick in there. The Dodgers are just going to go him-hum and just move on. So Seattle will finally end their playoff drought.
Yes,
Believe it or not.
yes. I'm going to do it just because it is going to be an extra playoff team.
I'm going to say no. It's tough. I mean, you got Houston and the
Texas.
Angels are there. Texas, good. I don't think Texas is going to compete. And I did misspoke. Every team in the AL West has improved except for Oakland.
Except for
I forgot about Oakland.
Oakland had.
But with the AL East, I think 4 teams can contend there. There's possibly 2 teams in the AL Central.
Right.
It's very, very interesting. Let's have some fun with some individual milestones. Max Surgery, Clayton Kershaw, Adam Wainwright. All of them will reach 200 all-time wins this season. Scherzer's at 190, Kershaw's at 185, Wainwright's at 180.
I think it'll be a no-brainer. I think where they're going to be able to focus just on pitching, I think they're going to come out and probably blow those out.
Yeah, I think so too. And the last one I just saw, it made me laugh. Anthony Rizzo has been hit 178 times. He'll reach 200 all-time this year.
I'm going to say yes. I'm just going to reach out there and say yes. Just be funny about it. See how many times he does get hit.
All right, let's do our sports-related draft and get out of here. Harry has been hanging out listening. He'll be our first 2-time judge.
And
He
he's
did
gonna,
pick you
and he's going to give it to me again.
last time for the worst current NHL jerseys. Best WrestleMania match. That is what I picked, and you get the first pick.
Listen, I think this was between the 2 that we have on the very first pick. But for me, yes, I'm a Steve Austin fan, but I'm more of an Undertaker fan. It has to be the first matchup between Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, WrestleMania 25. Those guys back and forth. It just was huge. At one point, you thought Shawn Michaels was going to do it after hitting Sweet Chin Music, and just you seeing Hebner so slow on the count, and just monumental watching that one there. And Undertaker gets to 17-0 at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's right up there. Obviously, them having the second match the next year and being almost as good in the retirement match for Shawn Michaels. Great series of matches between those 2. And then the 2 matches with Triple H after that were also very, very good. I'll go a different route and not go as technical, but a monumental match in WrestleMania history. WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, the double turn. Bret Hart going from face to heel and then going off to record Lonesome Dove, which that kind of flopped for USA. Steve Austin going from the bad guy to that beloved bad guy all in one match. The fact that Steve Austin bladed when he wasn't supposed to, but they hit it so well that they didn't really even get in trouble. The image of the blood coming down to Austin's face where he doesn't tap out. Obviously, Ken Shamrock being the special referee kind of added something to that match as well. So that is my first pick.
Yeah, and then nothing wrong with that, especially with going up into the stands. They were all over the place, and it was the first real big change of the Attitude Era. So I'm nothing bad with that one. My second pick, I'm going to go one of the earlier moments, and it was with Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat. It was for the Intercontinental Championship, and to see Animal out there getting the help and winning that one, that's the way I went.
It's an overrated match to me. It's a very good technical match. I don't think it's aged very well. It was, especially in the time of WrestleMania 3, and obviously everyone's focused on Hogan and Andre. Steamboat and Savage put on a clinic.
Listen, Ricky was one of the best to ever do it. I love watching old.
But it's been that match that keeps getting put up at the very top, and it's just not a match that I think is aged very well. How about a match that everyone has to forget because the WWE refuses to talk about it ever?
Exactly.
But to me, it's either the best triple threat match I've ever seen or it's the second best. It's between this match, WrestleMania 20, Chris Benoit, Triple H, HBK, or TNA had one with Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and Christopher Daniels, which is amazing. It's by far the best TNA match I've ever seen. But these 3 went out there, absolutely killed it. Triple H, HBK, obviously, I mean, they wrestle. They used to wrestle all the time during this era and always found different ways to change things up. Add in Chris Benoit, who is never hotter than he was. Obviously, we know what he did in his personal life a few years later. As far as the match goes, absolutely fantastic. And it kind of gets replayed at WrestleMania 30 with the Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Batista match, but these three just did it so much better.
Yeah, I think you're talking about HBK and Triple H, who were part of that Attitude Era that really solidified what was going on in that time. Round 3 for me has to be probably the best TLC match to ever happen, even with some of the ones they've done lately in the very first one. But you have this ingrained in your head, seeing Edge spear Jeff Hardy off the ladder, and that has to be WrestleMania 17 and TLC 2 and the triple threat match with the Hardys and the Dudleys. Just to see that moment over and over, and to see you see Bubba Ray moving. I think it was Bubba Ray that was moving the ladder out of Jeff Hardy's, and you knew they were setting up for it, and you could watch Edge just leap out there and just crush Jeff with the spear midair as Jeff's holding on to the titles. One of the biggest moments in WrestleMania history.
Yeah, it's a great match. Obviously, a repeat of their match the year before, which was technically TLC 1, but they didn't have a name for it yet, so TLC 1 was actually SummerSlam that year. And those three teams they wrestled each other for years, and it was always fantastic. Which led me to my final pick, and boy, howdy, did I have a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
I finally cut it down to the two best technical matches I think that have ever happened at WrestleMania. I think Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21 is a hidden gem to a lot of people. A lot of people forget how great that match was. And then the match I ended up going with, which was WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart, Owen Hart. A match that was just thrown in there. Okay, we're going to have Owen turn heel and go against his brother just because we need Bret to have somebody to face before his match with Yokozuna to quote unquote make it fair. Just kind of a throwaway, and then have Bret let his brother beat him on the same night he was going to win the title. And the wrestling was absolutely fantastic. So that is my third pick. So Harry, that is your choice now. Robert picked Shawn Michaels and Undertaker from WrestleMania 25, Steamboat and Savage from WrestleMania 3, and TLC 2 from WrestleMania 17. I picked Bret Hart and Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13, HBK, Triple H, Chris Benoit from WrestleMania 20, and WrestleMania 10's Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. I know it's a triangle ladder in 16, but I call it the original TLC. Right. They just didn't call it that.
There has been a lot of matches. I mean, you could look at any of Undertaker's stuff, especially the older ones with.
Oh, his older ones are horrible.
Well, I mean, the very final, when all three of them are hunters, they're Triple H, and all of them, Shawn Michaels. There's a lot of different memories you can go with. So,
all right, so
I think he's going to pick me. He has to pick me.
Waiting on Harry's result here, and while we wait for that, just match you're most excited for this weekend for WrestleMania.
For me, I think I want to see Brock Lesnar. I do. As much as he has turned almost good guy, bad blood still kind of feeling, I think that would be the greatest one. I hope he can pull up the upset, but I think WWE is too much on the one and the Usos and him and the family and all that. So
yeah, for me it's Edge and AJ. Both of those happening on Sunday would be great. Harry says Randy wins 2-1.
Harry.
I win again.
Don't like it.
All right, that's going to do it for this show. Again, technical difficulties made today frustrating for a lot of people, so we're going to get out of here before we make people even more frustrating. But we'll be back next week for a full-on show. Hopefully, tech issues will be subsided by then. Either that or things will be broken in here. We'll find out. Either way, thank you so much for hanging out with us for a shortened edition of the R&R Sports Report. That's Robert. I'm Randy. We are out.